This is the kind of professional that Jake Asman is. He is going to get the Comrex hooked up so we get to hear him nice and clear. No phone line, none of that garbage. So, but that takes a bit. So he's going to do that coming up next.
He's running the Comrex on? Does he have to get some sticks together and create a fire?
Well, no,
yeah, right.
You probably just have to go wherever the Comrex is, right?
Dial up.
Is it when he goes to the tower? He goes to he has to go to the cable tower.
I don't know. I have very little knowledge of Jake's background, other than I think he's a fabulous talk show. Mm-hmm. But I don't know where he lives in the sense of it's a mansion. Maybe he's got to go to the 13th floor in order to connect with the Comrex.
The jet sponsored mansion.
Yeah, because he's a go-getter, man.
Sure he's a hustler. There's no question.
But
should hustle his way to a new football team so he can enjoy his life.
He was not listening, so one of his friends
ratted you out.
Ratted me out. I want to know what this guy said because he sounds like a punk to me. I don't know, but his friend sounds like a bit of a troublemaker.
Stirring it up.
And we're going to find out as soon as Jake gets connected. Because what I said was I thought I heard him say he thought this could be a 6-7 win team. But even if he didn't say that, there were people that did say that. We took the phone calls, guys, if you remember.
Somebody did.
And I'm just saying, guys, maybe, but let's stop. And Jake Asman has connected with the Comrex, and he's joining us here on Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg.
Gentlemen, I'm on the YouTube as well. It's great to see you guys.
You are amazing. Now, I want to know what your friend said to you.
I heard, and I quote, Don, I can't even read the full text because it's not radio appropriate.
What?
Don is ripping you on the air for saying you want Aaron Glenn fired.
See, this is I was right, guys. His friend's a punk.
Yeah,
that's a bad friend you got, Jake.
Because you're in that text, your friend didn't say that I thought you were an amazing talk show host. Did he mention that?
That did not come up, but I do appreciate the kind words, Don.
And guys, would you say in me bringing up Jake? Be honest, because maybe I don't know my own tone. Would you describe what I said about Jake as ripping him?
No.
All right. So I would disassociate myself with this individual if I were you, but whatever. I'm going to tell you what I said.
No, actually, Don, you know what you should say? If you want to continue working at this station, this can no longer be your friend. You got that kind of power. No. Swing it, Don.
Let me get this out before Nationwide Arena all of a sudden decides to do the lineup again. And you don't
He's
hear
a friend
me.
to Jace, if we're being fair. Thank
you, Jake.
Yeah,
that's important information.
There you go.
Tell him he's out.
What I said, and I might have been wrong, Jake, that I thought I heard you say, because I do listen to the station, and I think you're great, that you thought this team could win 6-7 games this year.
I had them winning 6 games this year.
Okay.
Yes. Their Vegas win total, by the way, was 6.5, so I don't think I was that far off with those expectations.
But my allegation, and the reason I brought you up, because, A, it's great promotion, and it's attaching a name to that there were a lot of people that were positive about the Jets going into the season. Hey, maybe this team can win 7 games. Maybe this team can win 8 games. Maybe this team can go into December still playing meaningful games.
But those people weren't positive, Don. The people that were positive, the people calling into my Jet YouTube show every day, these are the people who are saying 9, 10 wins or Justin Fields is going to be unlocked like Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield were. Most Jet fans, realistically, just wanted to see improvement, wanted to see a well-coached team, wanted to see players develop and get better, wanted to see a team that wouldn't beat itself because their head coach doesn't know how to manage the 2-minute drill. So the bar was very low, and they're the only team in the NFL without a win right now.
We'll get to that in a second. But what the reason I brought you up, because I do feel that a lot of the fans that are destroying the Jets, maybe not you, because they're not living up to what I thought were fantasy expectations about the team. Because I didn't have expectations, because being around this team as long as I don't have blood in the ground like you as far as being a fan, but doing the pre and post for 16 years, they usually hype up a new coach. There's a lot of hype around the team. When they got rid of Aaron Rodgers, it was, listen, we're not going to be very good. We don't have another alpha dog in the locker room, and it's going to be a slow burn here. And you should be very disappointed in the way he's coached. He has not coached well, but I think this is very early in the process. He's inexperienced, and I think this was maybe not the plan, Jake, but I think they kind of felt like this was going to come, and I think they're going to be extraordinarily patient with him. They gave him a 5-year contract. From what I understand, they're paying him more than they paid the average first-time head coach. I think this is part of a slow burn, and that fans should not be as red-hot about it, because I do think it comes from a place of inexperience, not incompetence.
Here's what I would say, Don. All your points are valid. If Aaron Glenn himself did not completely alter what we thought the expectations were going to be for this team, he immediately came in, pumped his chest, talked over and over again about how this team's going to be different. They're not going to beat themselves. He highlighted the fact that they led the NFL in penalties the last 2 years, and until yesterday, the previous 2 games where the Jets looked awful after, oh, by the way, he said at 0-3, they're not the same old Jets. They had 23 penalties against Miami and Dallas combined, 2 mediocre teams at best, to be kind to what the Dolphins are, oh, by the way. And then I don't want to listen to Aaron Glenn, where his first big thing is to just jettison Aaron Rodgers and act like he doesn't need him, give $40 million to Justin Fields, say he's our guy, and then talk about all the different things throughout the course of the offseason and the summer that he was going to be able to implement, and just completely miss the mark with his messaging all the way. He thought this team was going to be decent. He thought this team with coaching was going to have a chance to be pretty good. That's why they kept a lot of the same players. They chose to bring back Jamie and Sherwood. They chose to keep guys like Michael Clemens and Isaiah Oliver. He didn't bring in a bunch of his guys from the Lions. The only guy that has any experience with Aaron Glenn is Josh Reynolds, who wasn't on his side of the ball and didn't even play for the Lions last year. So, he thought this team was going to be better than what I think you're presenting it as, and I had pretty low expectations. I thought they were going to be around their win total, but we'd have proof of this team being well coached, and I think he looks like he's in over his head. I mean, that game
he might
yesterday
be.
was not just any type of loss, Don.
Well,
that was
Jake,
as bad as it
he
gets.
might be in over his head. But the idea of not bringing in Tyrod Taylor tells me that it's kind of – I'm not saying they're tanking. I don't think winning is necessarily the priority. When you let Aaron Rodgers walk out the door for Justin Fields, you couldn't tell me you improved that team. He could say whatever he wants to say. The plan was not to improve by letting Aaron Rodgers go and bring in Justin Fields.
He thought they were going to be able to get more out of the quarterback spot because they were going to have this offense that would feature Fields as a runner, and we're going to bring Tanner Engstrand over from Detroit, and we're going to have this ground and pound ball control offense. And he's pushing back at reporters being like,
right, and
well,
it
Aaron,
worked in week 1, and now everybody's adjusted to it.
But that's my point, right? They've been progressively worse since week 1, and I think the Jet fan just wanted to see a team, right, to quote him, that we were proud to support. I can't say I've been proud to support anything I've seen. In his second ever game against a division opponent at home, they got their doors blown off against the Bills. Didn't look like they belonged. As bad as Miami is, they almost went into Buffalo on a Thursday night and won. New England with Vrabel in his first year went into Buffalo and won. You look at Ben Johnson. He has the Bears seemingly heading in the right direction. Liam Cohen with the Jaguars, another first-year coach, has them headed in the right direction.
Yeah, but
those
it's 1
teams
year.
were all worse than the Jets a year ago, Don.
I get it. And listen, I'm talking to a fan that has been involved in this forever, and you've been told to be patient, and you've seen failure after failure after failure. But I can tell you, Ben McAdoo won 11 games his first year. How'd that go? Right? You saw how it failed in Detroit. You saw how Bill Parcells won just 3 games with the Giants in his first year. And I look back at that 83 year. They were in a lot of games. They had a really good defense, but they got nothing out of their offense, and they almost fired Bill in his first year, and they go to the playoffs the next year. I'm not telling you to not feel the way you're feeling. You should feel that way. I'm just telling you you've got to find a way to be patient because it doesn't mean he's a bad coach.
Let me jump in.
It's early. We're only 6 games in.
I'm not saying fire him, though, to be clear. I want to make it clear. I'm just saying.
I never said you said that.
Right,
Okay.
Here's my opinion on Glenn, right? I think through 6 games, he's been about as bad as any Jet head coach I have ever watched in my lifetime. Thank God I didn't live through the coat tie years, right? That said, the best thing I could say about Aaron Glenn, Don, is that he still has 11 games to go in his first year to show some real improvement. But if this team is sitting there with the number 1 overall pick, I'm sorry, I don't care how much money Woody paid him or how many years are left on his contract. We saw Robert Kraft make a tough decision and have to one-and-done Gerard Mayo for the betterment of his organization, and it landed them Mike Vrabel. If the Jets are sitting there with the number 1 pick, I just don't think Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji have earned the right to draft and probably ruin another quarterback that you're going to take that high. That's my big thing. I just want to see some improvement before we just say Aaron Glenn's getting year 2 no matter what, because it's been that bad through these first 6 weeks.
Well, your first mistake is to think that Woody Johnson is going to do something competent like that and bring in somebody that actually has experience. So we all know that's not going to happen, right? And eat money, that's not going to happen either. He's not going to do that, especially the amount of that's on that contract. But I like, for me, Jake, the patience thing I get, because you can't tell a Jets fan to be patient. They've been waiting for
They've been patient.
Years. The patience has always been there. But what I also think, though, that we do too much sometimes especially with somebody like, if you know Aaron Glenn's story and you know how he's worked his way up and where he's come from, coming just deciding I want to coach, I want to be involved, and starting at the bottom instead of using his name and his clout to move a little higher up. He was a scout. He grinded his way up. You understand that he went from a guy that with a lot of bravado walking into this job, that he has suddenly lost all that bravado, and now he's just kind of talking plainly to people. You could see it. The big, the coach speak stuff at the podium's gone, and I'm glad it is. But I also think that there are times that we will give everybody else a chance to learn, and especially young quarterbacks, but we won't give a first-year coach a chance to learn from his mistakes. He's made mistakes. There's no doubt about that. But you could see it in his face that he's like, damn, I did not expect that. Damn, I did not expect that. Like, you could see that he's already processing his own mistakes and realizing this didn't go the way I thought it did. That he realized that I probably should have put more work on film on this team, because otherwise I would have never kept Michael Clemens. Like, I would have never kept – there's certain players that you just know this is who they are. But you also know you can't turn over a roster that quickly. It does take another year or so. So all I'm saying is, if we're going to let a coach develop, let it be a guy that actually was a Jet, that went through a 1-15, and survived to tell the story of the good life with Bill Parcells. Like, at least if you're going to give someone a chance, let him just get a chance to go through it, learn from mistakes, and get better.
Jake, I'm with you, though, that it's a nice thing to say what Alan just said. But if, like you pointed out, there's 11 games left. If over that 11 you're not able to show anything heading the right direction on that chart, I'm with you. I think it's very hard to then say, let's run it back again, regardless of his history elsewhere.
Peter, I was in Houston doing afternoon radio when the Texans went through 3 coaches in 3 years, right? David Culley, Lovie Smith, they landed on D'Amico Ryans. Also, by the way, a franchise legend, and I hoped Aaron Glenn would have a similar path to what D'Amico has done these last 2 years. We watched the Niners go through 3 coaches in 3 years before they landed on Kyle Shanahan. I understand it's not a good look to one-and-done any coach, and I hope to God it doesn't get to that point. But, Alan, you have to admit, through 6 games, he has been every bit as bad as Obrick, who was, to me, there was no one worse than him.
Obrick's the worst coach I've ever seen.
And that's how bad this has been. Yesterday was a debacle.
I'm not denying it.
It has to get better before I just say he gets year 2 because he was
right
a great
about
Jet 30 years ago.
You're right about that. But he's not acting alone here. Again, the quarterback sucks.
But that was his choice.
I know
he
it was.
Wanted
That's his first mistake. His first mistake was saying we could take Justin Fields and turn him into something. And then
his first mistake was saying I probably won't see Aaron Rodgers either.
Well, but I'm saying like not understanding that the guy can't throw. Like, his throws are bad. So every opposing defense by now in 5 years, they know, oh, they want to run the ball with that guy, so we're going to take that away because we're going to want him to throw. You want Justin Fields to throw. That's what you've learned. So it's all this stuff that he's starting to realize that, no, that was a mistake. But again, like he's not acting alone here.
No.
Him not calling a play late in the first half yesterday, that was him letting you know, I have no confidence in my quarterback nor this offense.
They make a change at quarterback because
I
you or I could have completed wide open passes to Garrett Wilson on the last drive to get in field goal range. Alan, the bar is low. I'm really not trying to be the fire the coach guy, hot take radio. If you guys listen to me, you know I've never been that way. I am just disgusted rooting for this team and seeing what I've seen. And Glenn promised to change all this, and whether he could or not, the messaging from him, it's on him and the Jets PR staff.
No, there's no question. And everything
it's
that
been set up to fail with what he said.
Everything that that's
you
true.
Said.
Too loud at the beginning.
Well, no, absolutely. And I said it at the time. I thought, the abuse of the media, because I really do believe, Jake, and you may know better than me, that I felt like whoever was going to be the head coach of this team was going to have to get on board that Rodgers was not coming back.
Agreed.
I think that was Woody saying we're not bringing him back. And then because of the whole new sheriff in town mentality with Glenn was, I'm going to take ownership of all these decisions. That I'm the one that wanted Rodgers gone. I'm the one that wanted Justin Fields here. For all we know, Justin Fields was just to make Garrett Wilson happy and trying to give him a new contract. I think that's probably the downfall, too, of trying to take ownership of this, being how much too vibrato. If I admit anything, I believe he probably thought this job was going to be way easier than it's been.
That's right.
And probably did not realize how much damage had been done by the previous regime and how much work he was going to have to do. But I think fundamentally we agree, Jake. I said it earlier in the show. It's got to look better. It may not look better wins and losses wise, But if you see the mistake in the second quarter yesterday happen in week 16, week 17, then I'm totally on board because that means you're not improving. You're not getting better. But let's see how the next few weeks go. Cut down on the penalties, right? They finally got their first turnover. I know it's not a lot, but it's a step in the right direction, and we'll see. All right, promote yourself. When's the next time you're going to be on?
I'm on every Sunday. It's me and Mike Tannenbaum. And by the way, you want to talk about awkward radio. So Mike T obviously assisted in Woody hiring Aaron Glenn, and I'm killing Glenn on the radio yesterday. How is he not going to Tyrod? Because we're on the air doing the show as the Jets are playing a game in London at 9:30 in the morning. We're on 8 to noon every week together, Mike and I. So that was awkward, but we got through that.
I love it. I love that.
But, yeah, so that's what you guys can all hear me. It's called New York Game Day, Mike T and myself, 8A to 12P every Sunday.
How hard is that?
By the way, delete that friend out of your contacts right now. Just delete him.
Done.
I had to go through this a lot, through my career of having a big game going on while I'm doing a show. Like, how did you handle doing a show and your team's on?
It's so stressful. You feel like you don't get to really watch every play the way you would if you weren't trying to multitask on the air, and you got to think about everything you're saying because it's a public position that you're in, right? I felt like I was missing things, and the problem was, too, Mike was doing the show out of Bristol, and he was ahead of where I was doing the show from home. So I'm in the middle of talking. He's, like, spoiling what's coming. And if it was a good or bad play, I'm now, like, forgetting what I'm supposed to be saying. And I'm looking at the screen, and we got 30 seconds to go to whatever play that he's going ooh and ah about on the radio. So it was not fun yesterday, Don. It would have been fun and all worth it.
But you hear the difference, Don, is that unlike Dave Rothenberg, Jake, who is just as obsessed with the Jets, he's a professional. He was able to do the job. He didn't have to say no.
He didn't call in sick because the Jets were playing in London.
He went and did the job he had to do.
He didn't pour gasoline on the microphone and then light it on fire in the middle of the show.
I mean this in the best way possible, Jake. You're a bit much, but I love you, and I think you're doing an amazing job. And I'm glad that this little awkward moment got us on the air together. And I'm looking forward to doing it again, man.
Don, I love you. I love you, Alan, and Peter as well. I've been listening to all you guys for, as long as you've all been on the station. I mean, besides maybe Don. I started listening to Don in 2006 on the old K show. So an honor to join you. Anytime you need someone to commiserate about the Jets, I'm here doing it. So whatever you guys need.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks a lot, Jake. And that was kind of a rite of passage at the Super Bowl. You'd have to pop on his show in Houston, and Michael and I would always do it, and Peter did it later on. He's a great talent. It was fun to get him on.